Let's should we do Exxon or Spotify
Let's do Spotify.
now? Okay, so this is just an amazing little snippet from a digital music news article. And this is DJ Booth EIC on Twitter. Co-founder, yeah, this guy. So former Spotify exec said the quiet part out loud at a music conference last week. They don't care if artists make money. That wasn't the reason that they created their platform. Now, just to read this. So this is the exec. I'll do the exec. You can be Jana. Okay. So we should talk about entitlement. I mean, I have an issue with Taylor Swift's comments. I have this issue with it, and we'll call it entitlement. I mean, I consider myself an artist because I'm an inventor, okay? Now, I freely give away my patents for nothing. I never collect royalties on anything. I think Taylor Swift doesn't need 0.0001% more a stream. The problem is this. Spotify was created to solve a problem. The problem was this. Piracy and music distribution. The problem was to get artists' music out there. The problem was not to pay people money. It's your turn, Jay.
But now it's a problem. It's a problem now.
The problem was to distribute music, not to give you money, okay? The problem was to distribute music. Now, I would just point out that music was...
What are they talking about?
Music was good and distributed.
That's what I got distributed. Like, man, I was hanging out in BearShare getting plenty of music, man.
I was getting a shit ton of music distributed right to me. That did not seem to be a problem. And also a really free and artistic way where you try to download like a Bob Marley song, right? And you would get, Jack Johnson. That was their, Spotify does like the suggested things, right? Like back in the old days, you try to download a song, you just get something completely different. Sometimes be like, oh, I like this song. It's pretty interesting. And yeah, remix. And it's like, dude, no, computers fix that problem.
Yeah.
Like computers fix the problem of music distribution.
You just found a way to make some damn money off of it, asshole.
This is why I love the work of Peter Linebaugh. We talk about commons, because what happened was a commons emerged. And whatever the fuck the legality of copyright, who gives a fuck? This is a commons where people were sharing things freely. Music, videos, whatever, right? And the problem, according to Anderson, was to distribute music, which means is that commons needs to be privatized, needs to be brought under corporate control so it can be used for basically marketing, surveillance, and all that sort of shit, right? Like we can't just have this free-for-all thing that and in a way it's beautiful. Like, exactly. This was your job. This is all you ever wanted to do, is to get your paws on this. Because it's like, you talk about all the patents. I've never heard of this motherfucker. I don't know what patents. Maybe it's fucking Benjamin Franklin with a fancy stove patent. Maybe he's got all these patents just coming out of his ass. But you know what he's also sharing is artists' music on a scale absolutely not paralleled in world history, right? And you've completely plundered these people. And look, I am not one for copyrights. I personally would have allowed. I think you need to address this differently. But in terms of as far as socialism goes, right? But this idea that you weren't about paying people money, of course, that's the only reason I pay for Spotify. I'll admit it. I pay for Spotify. I have so much fucking playlist labor into that shit. I'm not going to leave it, unless people say there's an easy way to do it. But and I did that because you know what? I'm making money now. I can, and this is I should have absolutely have known better. And the writing was on the wall from the beginning, right? Though. But it's fine. This is nothing to me. I can afford this, and let's send some money to creators.
The music that I like, yeah.
Yeah. Instead, I'm sending it to this guy to help him put a Spotify ads in between it.
To this jackass, and I make this point all the time. It's one of the most amazing kind of magic tricks of capitalism that you do things like spend $10 a month on Spotify, right? And if you calculate that by the amount of years that you've done it, that's a significant amount of money. And then you realize that you don't own any music. I mean, I'm talking in general. I have a very nice record collection, but you know what I mean? In general, you spend all this money on media and you don't own any of it. It's extremely despicable, and it's a great example of how all of this great innovation and of digital capitalism that we've seen has just been jackasses like this trying to find a way to get in between already existing activity, right? And in this case, illegal, but still already existing activity, people downloading music for free online, and find a way to line their pockets while leaving everybody else who actually does the productive work poor, and the consumer weaker, in the sense of like they don't actually have rights or control their own music anymore.
Yeah. And it's just amazing, like, and this is how this works, right? Like, the utilization of a commons by a corporation to become like basically a monopoly level, and then it's time to get serious about this stuff. YouTube was the same thing. YouTube, you could get music for free for all the time. I played it on majority report for years. Now, Sam was paid an ASCAP license, but like ultimately, really, like you can go on. Like everybody knew, like, oh, a new song was out. Go on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a very big value to YouTube, and it was against like whatever the laws were. But the recording industry knew that Google owned YouTube, and ultimately they'd be able to make some sort of deal out once they got to a size, where they could become partners.
Well, I mean, Spotify is so damaging too for like smaller artists, and that's the real evil of it, is that you can make a song that's a banger, and if Taylor Swift is complaining about the amount of money that she's making for Spotify, right. Imagine, what people, sort of midstream are making, hell, at the bottom too. It's absolutely despicable. And because people, aren't used to paying for music anymore too. And then people who, do pay $120 a year to Spotify, they don't really feel the need to spend more money on digital music. I mean, it really hurts smaller, medium-sized musicians in a way that's just so disgusting. And I feel bad whenever I see a show here in Austin and you're hearing somebody trying to pump up, a musician who's playing at honky tonk or something like that, pump up their Spotify because they know that that's how they get recognized. I'm just sitting here knowing that, like, well, in the past they would be selling CDs or something for you to grab on your way out, and instead they're just trying to funnel us to make money for this extremely well-off billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar a year corporation. Those guys suck so much. The amount of evil that this kind of like tech bro mentality has unleashed on us over the past few years is so despicable, especially as Matt was noting earlier, that all they're doing is just sitting on like what should be public infrastructure, what should be like a beautiful thing that like, wow, we have the ability to listen to the largest catalog of music that's ever existed. That's an incredibly beautiful thing. And instead of that being a crowning achievement of like humankind, it's just as a big bridge for some troll to sit under and abuse artists.